everyone. Welcome to AU4H Radio Real Talk. And that's Real Talk because we're real people and we're glad to be here tonight. My name is Laurie. I'm here with Lee Roberts and Donna here. And we're just glad to be here. We have a very special guest coming on the show about halfway through the show. Her name is Maureen Ruhl. She's an author. She's an advocate as well. And she's a survivor of child sexual abuse. And April, the month of April being, really the National Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. This is why we're focusing on this month. And tonight's show, we're going to be talking about CSA child sexual abuse in particular, and mainly the prevention side of it, just how important it really is to protect your children if you have children. If you have grandchildren, protect your grandchildren, protect the children around you. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about that. I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse myself, incest. And so it does happen. It can happen. And people would say, never in my family, but it does. And so you need to be aware of the signs and symptoms of CSA child sexual abuse and, protect your children. Do everything that you can. So I'm glad to be here. Hi, Lee. Hi, Donna.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Lee. Hi, Laurie.
Yeah, it's good to be here. And like we said on our last show, we've been advocating together to stop and prevent child abuse for many, many years. And we will always do that in some form or some capacity, to speak out against child abuse, to stand up for children's rights, and to stop and prevent child abuse. It's so important. And we all need to use our voices. We got involved because we care. And we were like, we need to do all we can. And so we do. It's, we used to work with different not-for-profits. And now we have our own not-for-profit, Advocates United for Humanity. And we're a 501c3 not-for-profit. We're not getting paid to do this. We're doing this all volunteer because we want to make a difference. And, we know there's children suffering out there, being abused in every way. And, two of us sitting here in this group of three are survivors ourselves. And, it's just unacceptable what's happening to children out there. And with people call COVID-19 a pandemic. And, child abuse has been a pandemic from the beginning.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. I mean, it's a serious, serious issue. And so this is why we do what we do, because we really care about children. And we felt like, hey, our voices are just as important as anybody else. We're people on the planet. We don't like what we see. I didn't like being abused and growing up abused. And I think it's really important to stand up for children and be a voice for those whose voices were silenced, and be a voice for those children who can't speak out, and, to be their voice. Right. So we just wanted to add our voices to everybody else's. And that's what we're doing. So it's good to be here. I'm really glad. I know that Lee wanted to bring up some information that's really quite important, in regards to what we're talking about tonight.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I know normally we don't sit and, read things off, but I've got some statistics that I feel are very important for us to share with you on this show. And these statistics come from RAINN. That's the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, RAINN.org. To tell you this, child sexual abuse is a problem that it crosses all boundaries. It crosses all barriers, socioeconomic barriers. It crosses all race, ethnicity, you name it. And, every 9 minutes, CPS, which is Child Protective Services, they get calls for and substantiates or finds evidence for a claim of child sexual abuse. That's every 9 minutes. Let that sink in just for a minute,
Yeah.
That means approximately 57,329 children were victims of sexual abuse in that one particular year. And of all the victims that are under 18, 2 out of 3 are ages 12 to 17. And 1 in 9 girls, 1 in 53 boys under the age of 18 experienced abuse or assault at the hands of an adult. 82% of those victims are female, although this does happen with boys too. I mean, it's not just girls who are survivors, and it's harder for the boys to speak out. It's just what's really what's really hard to fathom are the statistics, because even though we've got all these numbers, that have been crunched and given to us and put in format for us to read and to um, just get information from. The hardest thing is that those numbers don't even reflect the reality of the abuse that's out there, because the statistics are a lot higher than what's represented, because not everybody will speak out, and a lot of times it's really difficult for children to speak out. One, they're being coerced by their abuser or abusers excuse me, to keep silent because their family may have been threatened, or they'll if you tell anybody, nobody's going to believe you. If you tell anybody, you'll get in trouble. If you tell anybody, we're going to kill your animal, we'll kill your pet, we'll kill your parents, or we'll kill your sibling. There's so many things that the child is threatened with. So they obviously aren't going to speak out. And when you do have the occasion, when a child comes to you to disclose abuse, please listen, be an active listener, and please believe them, because children aren't going to lie to you. And it's hard enough to come forward, but believe them above all, all things. Believe that child when they tell you. It's hard to fathom that, okay, this person you're married to is abusing your child, or your child is saying that, okay, well, mommy or daddy hurt me or did this to me. And yes, females can be perpetrators as well. It's a sickening world, and things are just not getting any better. But we've got to stand up and protect these kids. We have got to stand up. We've got to be a voice for them. And it took me a long time to actually speak the words "I'm a survivor." It's really hard. A lot of us don't speak out until we're I think many are in their 30s. I was in my early 30s when I really had to seek help. And I was in therapy for about 12 years at that point, after that. And, there's still things we're always going to deal with, but we've become advocates to speak up for others and speak out for those who aren't able to speak for themselves, and, if you can do anything to help a child out there, if you have the qualifications to become a gal, to become a guardian ad litem for a child, please consider it. Pray on it, think about it, and if you can do that for a child, or if you can help any other way, just by using your voice, just by sharing information on social media, you can help stand up for children who've been abused.
That's right.
I'm a survivor of so much that I just, I'm not going to, detail specifics, but, since I was a child, through my, early adult years, I'm a survivor, and come a long way in healing. When we're talking about statistics for abused children, the deaf community, and I was reading a story earlier today about a few women who had come forth. We're starting 2021, so it was 2019. So they're still coming forth and sharing their stories of being abused at a deaf school, the residential schools, the institutes. It's still happening today. What really gets me is in the areas, it's like, sometimes you'll get, the offender or alleged offender, I should say, will be investigated. They'll look into it. They do a lot of investigations in-house, and not having anybody outside come in, which ends up, there's something called passing the trash. And that was what happens with a lot of teachers. And and a lot of other persons who are in authoritative positions who have abused children. They just get passed along. They get shuffled, to another county, to another department, to another agency, and the fullness of what happened, of what transpired regarding the abuse that occurred, that they perpetrated or allegedly perpetrated. And I have to keep saying allegedly because, I'm not talking specific facts on specific cases, but, they just get shuttled off to, another county, another district, and that district doesn't do its due diligence and look deeply into the background to vet these people. And, I don't understand how they can claim to do the background checks that they do and find nothing. And, some stories will come to light, as you both know, that all this other stuff that's happened in their background suddenly comes to light. And it's like, well, why didn't the schools, why didn't they catch that in their background check? The background checks for those who are entrusted to the care of our children, they really need to be vetted a lot better because our children are getting failed. They're being failed in the school being able to protect them. Schools need to do a lot more. A lot of times, and I hate to say this, but there are a lot of schools that just, or you just need to work it out yourselves, or it's between the parents and the kids, or, they just don't get involved like they should. There's a lot more that they need to be doing. There's a lot more. Anybody, one of you two have a comment on that, or you want to jump in?
Laurie, it was kind of like that here with us in Clinton County. We live probably an hour from State College, and that was where Jerry Sandusky was from. And everybody knows the Sandusky case now. However, he was at this huge university, Penn State University, and I mean, this big top 10 school, and he did a lot of coaching and stuff like that. Well, then all of a sudden he goes from being this big super coach, and all of a sudden he is helping coach in Clinton County, a very small school district. And it goes back years because I had seen him at different events, and it was always weird because people would say to their kids, go over and sit by him. I'll get your picture. And they always thought that was like the biggest, coolest thing. And I used to always say to my kids, don't you go near him. There's something weird about him. Like I had this gut feeling, and I always say, trust your gut. And when it broke about him being a pedophile, it was really no big news to me because I always had that gut feeling like he was. But it was like, even to this day, you have people that will defend him saying that he didn't do it, and it's like, all these people are not going to lie. All these kids are not going to lie, but it makes me think, what could have been done to prevent all these different children from being affected by sexual abuse from back when he was at the college and he did a lot of volunteer work with different organizations, or when he come to, like I said, Clinton County, very small school district, and he affected, I don't know how many lives here, and when she said pass the trash, that made me think, of him, that we got that trash at Come Here, and it destroyed lives, and it's still destroying people's lives.
Yeah, that's right. And this is just the thing. Many
people
times,
think, it couldn't possibly be so-and-so because they're an upstanding member of the community. They're in this high position. That's where they go to get to our kids,
That was him.
Unfortunately.
We were supposed to be all thankful because we had this big top 10 coach coming to help coach our kids now. And we were supposed to be all excited and so happy. And it's like, ask yourself why he was dismissed from a top 10 school to come here to little old Clinton County, Pennsylvania, and teach kids in such a small school district. And we have one of the smallest schools in the entire district, the entire state of Pennsylvania. We are a very small school. I mean, the one elementary school has 150 kids in it. So that tells you how small we really are.
Yeah.
But it was past the trash. We got the trash, and then he destroyed people's lives. And, a lot of people don't realize, but those kids, they live with that forever, and they go into adults, and a lot of them self-medicate to try to, get over what they've been through, to heal.
Mhm.
And sometimes they know they'll never heal. And that's what's so sad.
Yeah, that's right. Because the children are left, the victims
Yes.
of these perpetrators are left with a lifetime sentence. And, a lot of times the perpetrators they only get a few years if they even get that.
Yeah. Slap on the
They
wrist.
may do, just kind of a minimal type sentence or whatever. A lot of them get away with, their crimes, and they get off with good behavior after a year or two, or their sentence is dismissed because of time served waiting for the trial, stuff like this. And the victims are left with a lifetime sentence. And I mean, as a victim myself, a survivor of CSH sexual abuse, incest, I mean, this is horrific, right? So many times it's just hush hush. In my case, it was my brother, my older brother, who was quite a bit older than me, and I was 8 years old, and he was 20, 21, right in there. So I told my mom. I actually did tell her. He actually threatened me. He told me not to tell anybody, and he said, if you tell mom, you'll be in trouble, because our mother was my abuser. So, I was afraid to tell my mom. But after I started getting sick from this CSH sexual assault that he was inflicting on me, I actually was developing an infection. I was very sick. I went to my mom and I told her. And so she knew, and I told her, and I said, brother's doing this to me, right? I told her who was. And my mom just said it was my problem. She said, that's your problem. That's not my problem. You deal with it. What do you want me to do about it? So she didn't do anything about it until about close to a year later. She shipped him to Canada with a one-way ticket. So who knows if he sexually abused other children when he came to Canada? I have no idea. You know what I mean? A lot of times, I mean, they, these child sexual predators, they just move around the country, to move to a different country, and they just continue on, This is absolutely horrific.
It
and
is.
The victims are left. Yeah. I mean, we're left with a life sentence that, it's not okay. And I mean, just learn the signs and symptoms, and just know that, one-on-one child contact, you better know who your child is with, because you got to think about it. Yeah. Where does abuse happen? Abuse happens in the home. It happens in schools. It happens in daycares. It happens wherever the children are. So wherever the children are, that's where the abuse is taking place. So you got to know who's your children with. Are they with a stranger? Are they with a family member? Are they with a daycare worker? Are they with teachers, coaches, camps, after-school programs? Who are they with? And you got to know who those people are. You really do.
You do.
Because any one-on-one child contact is an issue, believe it or not.
But don't you think that if a kid is being abused, they should be able to come to their parent and tell their parent? Because, I know myself with my own kids, I always said to them, there's nothing we can't talk about. There's nothing we can't discuss. And before the show today, the three of us were having a conversation, and I was actually sharing some of the things that we did, and we laughed. But I mean, I always told them, there's nothing you can't tell me. There's nothing you can't share with me. But as I said earlier today, my son, he was 6 foot, 200 pounds. He was a big guy. And I would always say to him, you look after your sister, you look after the girls. But then even when my daughter got older, I would always tell her, use your gut feeling, don't go anywhere alone, stay with your friends, go in a group. I mean, it was always more like that, because I figured there's numbers, it's better if you're in numbers. But that was one of the biggest things that I did with them. And one of the biggest things, like I said today, was I really talked a lot with them about, hey, we can have a conversation, and it can be anything. You can tell me anything. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to get mad at you. There's never going to be an issue. You can tell me. And to this day, we still, they're grown men and women. They have children of their own. And we still have the relationship to this day. I mean, they tell me every and anything. And I personally like that. A lot of parents, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to know what goes on in my kids' lives. But I'm just the opposite, I just always thought, it's best if you can talk to your kids and share with your children. I would rather have them tell me than not tell me and being harmed.
I made it a habit with my son to do the same thing with the communication.
Yes.
As soon as he was old enough to start asking questions about anything, and nothing was nothing was off limits, nothing was taboo. There was no judgment, no fear of getting in trouble for asking anything. It's like you have something to talk about, it doesn't matter what it is. You come to me. We can talk about anything. You can share anything with me, and, if I didn't know the answers to say anything he was asking me, then we'd find out together.
Exactly.
But, I'm really fortunate to have had a mom who was like that too. I could tell her anything. And I just, have issues with the doctors back then. Because I was right about 11, around 11 or 12, when she had taken me to the family doctor, who was, he was an old guy. He'd been the family doctor. He was her doctor. Then he was our doctor, but it was like, he just told her I had an irritation, and we're talking in my private areas. And it was more than that. It's, when a child that age can't wear their own underwear and have to wear my grandmother. It's funny in the sense that I'm wearing my granny panties, I'm wearing my grandmother's underwear, which hung down to my knees because I couldn't have anything touch me. But it was just an irritation, according to the doctor, and that was it. And he left it at that. So it's like, a lot of the doctors back then weren't so educated on, what was going on. I don't think that's my thoughts on that. Parents sometimes don't want to know what's going on.
No.
But I know we're the complete opposite. It's like, I want to know everything that's going on. You come to me, you talk to me.
Open communication. That's right.
We had is it Larry Nassar, the gymnast?
Yes.
The coach for the gymnast. He hurt a lot of kids. That's another one. That's another high profile case. But they get themselves in positions of authority, and that's not saying that everybody that's in a position of authority that's taking care of our kids, that's the little league coach and all of that. What they're not all bad guys, but there are bad guys in that bunch,
But people think because
to represent men and women, because
women too. But people think
I just don't get it,
Yeah. But people really think like if you have a powerful position, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, you're a councilman, you're not going to hurt kids or you're not going to abuse children. And that is not true. I mean, abuse does not discriminate. We know that. It can be done whether you're rich or poor, sexual orientation that doesn't matter. A lot of people say, because you prefer same sex couples or whatever, that, they're going to come after your child. No, that is not true. And it doesn't matter if you're black or white or rich or poor. That has nothing to do with it. People abuse. And matter of fact, I seen something on the news today where there was an attorney and he had been molesting young boys. And well, how, and they're like, well, how did he ever have the opportunity to do this? Well, he helped coach sports. He helped, with a swim team. He actually had his own organization that he worked with kids one-on-one with. And because he was an attorney, they didn't think that he could do this. And it's like, come on, I always say anyone can be an abuser. Not that everyone is an abuser, but anyone can be an abuser. So don't think because you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a dentist, that it's not going to happen, because it can and it will happen.
Yeah. This is the thing. I think, you see the headlines, and some of these people are, in positions of trust.
Yes.
And, they're highly, they're highly appreciated in their communities a lot of times. people think that they're great people, and then come to find out that they're child sexual predators. I mean, it can happen, folks. And so, they always said, for stranger danger, it's not necessarily the person walking down the street in a, looking like a villain with a black cape on, that black coat and a hat, looking kind of evil. These are people who, seem really helpful, really outgoing, who quite often will, sort of search out families and have children. They'll become friends with that family and then groom those children.
Yeah.
Oh, and then pretty soon it's uncle so-and-so or it's aunt so-and-so, because it's not just men that abuse children, women do too. And, as far as child sexual abuse and predators go, men and women both do this sort of thing. And it's like they'll gain positions of trust in that family.
Yeah.
And, the family thinks, oh, this is so wonderful. We met this new friend that lives down the street. They seem they have positions of authority, who they have great jobs. They don't look like thugs who would abuse your child. Pretty soon, they want to take your child out to do things, amusement park stuff. You have to wonder about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people just think, oh, how wonderful, they just want to spend time with my child, and they just don't clue into the fact that this stuff is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens,
Yes.
So that sort of thing is going on as well. It's not always just, an incident.
Sometimes if you hear something about a child's being abused, people will say, oh no, I work with him, he's a nice guy, or I work with her, she's a nice guy. These people that are nice, they abuse. Sometimes they are a coworker, they're an employee, they're a friend, they're a best friend, and worse that you're a family member. People get close to your kids, they get close to you to get close to your kids, and that is why and how they abuse. And a lot of people don't want to see it because they think, oh, not Uncle Joe, he wouldn't do that, or not Aunt Diane because, oh, she's the sweetest. I don't care how you are. I don't care how nice you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what you do for a living. Anyone can be an abuser. You have to protect kids from everybody, not one person, everyone. I mean, that's my opinion personally.
You do. You have to, because that's the issue. If you don't, who's going to? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, and a lot of times I think people just think, oh, that wouldn't happen in my neighborhood. That wouldn't happen in my child's school. That wouldn't happen in our family. But it does.
Laurie, just like I said earlier, everybody here, they were like so happy to have this, top 10 football coach, wrestling person, come to our school, and he was going to help the kids and everything. And I just thank God that my kids were out of school when that occurred, and I did not have grandchildren in school then, because I probably would have beat the man down myself. But, everybody just thought, oh, he is so kind. He's so gracious. He come to our little community to help. And it's like, no, he come to our little community because he was booted over there. They brought him here, and they know what he's capable of doing, but they're not going to say. They're going to pass the trash, so to speak. And now this little community that has never had something like this happen, now you didn't affect one kid or two kids or 10 kids. It is multiple children. And there's still kids out there that still have not said anything or testified, or out of fear or embarrassment. A lot of people think, oh my God, I can't say anything happened to my kid, because if I did, that's going to put shame on the family. I don't like that. That's
right. And this is the sad thing. It really is. Like, that's why, it is. I mean, I hid this, after, I told my mom what was going on. She didn't get me any help. And so I didn't tell anybody that I was sexually abused. I did mention to a friend of mine as a teenager, as a young teen, because she had said that she was abused sexually. And so I mentioned that I had been molested, but I never went into any details or disclosed anything about it. I just kept it to myself. And then, just the horrors and trauma of growing up in that, and, not getting any help until after I started my healing journey at the age of 42. And, decided I'm dealing with this stuff, and I'm going to admit to the world and, anybody else, what happened, right? And it's so difficult. So many people are survivors of child sexual abuse or were victims, and they they go to their graves with that information. No one would ever know because they would never say anything. And this is the tragedy. We know that the numbers, like Lee was presenting the numbers there of the statistics, that's just the cases that are reported. So if that tells you anything, it tells you that there's so much more going on. It's just not reported. And so that's why we do what we do. That's why we continue to speak out. And do as much as we can in our own capacity, to stop this madness, to stop this mess. Because if we all need to be involved in this, it doesn't matter whether you have children or not. Everybody on the planet needs to be involved. Because look at the numbers. You think about, for every child that's abused, there's a child sexual abuser out there, somebody who's done this to the child. Think of how many people out there abuse children in any way. But tonight we're talking about child sexual abuse. So think about all the sexual predators out there, or people who abuse children sexually. There's a lot. And
I read an article once, and it said that one sexual predator will abuse 120 children in their lifetime.
Yeah, like that's I read that too, and it's like that. Yeah, that's insane. But it's they've done the studies on it, and the thing is like, this is unacceptable. So people just need to realize this is happening, and if you have children, you have grandchildren, you can't just turn a blind eye and say, oh, it just doesn't happen in my world. It doesn't happen in our world. It doesn't happen in our neighborhood. It does happen. It is happening. And you don't want it to happen to your child or to your grandchild. You don't want that for your
really
children.
Sad and disgusting is that they may even have abused up to 200 children before they're ever caught for the first time. That's because they get good at what they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They get good at what they do.
Yeah.
But the resources that we have today that we can share, when on social media, we have them listed on our website. There are a lot of resources today that we didn't have growing up, that I know that I didn't have growing up available, or you, Laurie. We didn't have RAIN. We didn't have the coalitions against domestic violence. We didn't have any of these, really. And I didn't speak up when I was being abused as a kid. I was dealing with enough, and when I was 17 and a half and graduated, I rented a room the next town over, packed a paper sack, and left pretty quickly. But I just dealing with enough with the bullying and everything that it was one more thing that I was going to have to add to the plate. And I wasn't getting a lot of help from professionals, doctors specifically. But the resources that we have available are still, there's a lot of resources that are inaccessible for those in the deaf community. They have a lack of resources for access to interpreters, and you don't use family members, or friends to interpret for you. Then, when you're dealing with stuff like this, you need to have, qualified or certified interpreter to speak for that child. And a lot of times it just doesn't happen. They don't have the resources. And it also depends on where you live geographically. I mean, if you're out in a real If you're out literally in the middle of the country, there's not a lot of resources to
It's true.
to connect with, to get help, to get support, and but we're helping to change that by helping to make these resources that are out there available on our that we have listed on the website. What we don't have available, and you're looking for something, and we don't have it on the site, message us, email us, message us on our Facebook page, and we'll help you find the resources you need in your area or the ones that are closest to you.
Yes.
But again, it's really difficult for those who are deaf, and without saying a whole lot about this, I have friends who are interpreters, and others that I have a strictly business relationship with, and just having to interpret for a situation like that was very distressing for an interpreter that I had spoken with before, and I didn't get details of the case, names, or any of that. It was just that they shared that it was a very, very difficult thing for them to do, and can you only imagine how difficult it is for the child, not just the hearing children, but the deaf children, to be able to disclose that they were abused and the things that were done to them.
It's hard. It's sad.
It's really difficult. And it just breaks my heart.
Mine too.
It breaks my heart.
Yep. And this is all, this is 2021, people. And you look at the headlines, and CSA child sexual abuse isn't going anywhere. They are busting more and more, but the different crime, like ICE and different groups, the different police, what do you want to call it, units that actually specialize in busting child sexual predators and stuff like that, and rings, child sex rings and stuff like this. They said for every one they take down, there's 1,000 after them coming up.
Yes.
That's insane. You know what I mean? And that's why it's just so important for people to realize that this really does happen. It's real, and if you care anything about your child or your grandchildren or children in your life, you need to protect them. You really do. It's insanity. So should we bring on Maureen Ruhl?
Yes, I was just going to say the biggest thing you can do to protect your children is start a conversation. And I was thinking of Maureen.
Let's bring on Maureen and hear from her. Maureen Ruhl, she's an author. She's written a book. She's a survivor herself. And she's written a book called Frozen Tears. And we've asked her to come on tonight and just share a little bit about her book. So we'll bring her on now.
The book's incredible.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Maureen.
Laurie, Lee, Donna. It's an honor to be with you tonight.
We're glad to have you.
I tuned in every week. The power of your words, the power that each of you speak from experience, from helping, advocacy work. This cannot be diminished. I don't think people understand the huge sacrifice it comes at. You do it because you love it. You do it because you're committed, but it does hurt our hearts to try to save children. No one makes this easy. And we can never forget that these perpetrators are professional at what they do with these children to groom, to earn the child's trust, to become their friend, to take them to any length that this child will go to satisfy this individual with no questions asked. That takes a very special creep, but a very profound because it's hard for any child for us to gain their trust. And yet these people walk into a situation, they do not know the child, and give them a couple months. And like you said, one can affect 120 to 200 children's lives they ruin before we even catch them.
Yes.
Now, I know this isn't a comfortable subject. I'm sorry for everyone who says, well, really, we have to talk about, child abuse. It's uncomfortable for me. It should be. Mm-hmm. Child abuse is abhorrent. It needs to be eradicated. Laurie, you said it's 2021. Donna, you've said these abusers quickly gain trust. They come from high places where nobody suspects that there could be a bad bone in their body. And Lee shared how it takes years to open up and enough to trust someone ourselves to share our stories. And that's not easy. And I'm not going to tell you it is. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's most profound. But children, parents, grandparents, guardians, you need to take a serious look at your child. And if you think that your child can be surrendered to a child, to a pedophile, if you think that, so what? What's the damage? You shouldn't be around children. Wow. You shouldn't even, and we're in an age where with even all our technology, I would venture to say that sometimes children are raising adults. The roles are backwards sometimes. Kids are more afraid to upset things because COVID has really flipped our world on its head. Mm-hmm. And these, we're asking children to grow up. We're asking children to grow up by themselves in front of a computer screen without the support of their fellow pupils, friends, neighbors. We're asking an awful lot of kids right now. So I would ask any parent, guardian, if you really do love your kids, you love your grandchildren, you love those kids in your Sunday school class, you're a teacher, get uncomfortable and give a tool into the hands of children that you can work with them, you can work with authorities, but let the child tell his or her story. I was so infuriated that I wasn't allowed to tell my story because people said, "Oh, we don't really want to talk about that." Oh, it's too hard to discuss. Yeah. It's such can we talk about something else? Can we please change the subject? No, I think tonight you girls have nailed this on the head. That it is 2021. Wake up and save children from abuse. You can learn from our pain and our experiences, and these three strong women are giving you help and resources, making them available so you can walk the journey and you're not walking alone. These three women will walk with you, and they will walk every step of the way. Read their books, hold their hands. Lee is always just a text away for help. So is Laurie, so is Donna. So we didn't have that. The four of us never had that opportunity. We suffered in silence for a very long time. And then one day, for some of us, after we were, helped ourselves and lifted to another place, then we said, wow, the reason this might have happened to me was so that I can, from here on out, help someone else, because nothing else makes sense. And That's why I wrote the book. And Frozen Tears. Yeah, just wake up, get uncomfortable. Yep, Frozen
There it is.
Tears.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, she has it as well.
Yeah.
It's
But we have to get it into the
like-
hands of where it can help the most. So we can stop so that the predators are not the only ones in the equation. They might have for every one of them, they damage 120 to 200 children.
Yes.
This put into the equation now lifts up the parents, the children, and the children to a position where now they have a tool to fight with.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a great workbook. I did check it out. I
Yes.
did read and look at it, and I thought it was really interesting the way that you put it together, Maureen. Like, it's like simple. It's simple enough that very young children would be able to share and color. And maybe you can sort of just walk us through a little bit about.
Sure. So it is
yeah.
designed to be child friendly. It's not written for a doctor or a professor of education. It's written for a nurse, a caregiver, a mom, a dad, a guardian, a grandparent, so that they can sit down with a child of any age and you can ask some basic questions.
I like some of the questions you had asked because some of the ones I found that was very helpful was, what does love look like? Who do you trust? Has anyone ever asked you to keep a secret? That's huge with kids. How did that secret make you feel inside? And what does danger look like? I thought they were all very valid questions when it comes to children, because children, they're all about their feelings and you can break their heart very easily. So I thought they were all very valid questions that you'd ask, but please tell us a little bit about it. I didn't mean to cut in.
No, and the smartphones are smarter than me. Okay. I know how to, and I know I'm not a text queen. It's hard for me to email. I have a problem with, using this to its capabilities, but children don't have a problem. And so sometimes the monsters live right here, a keystroke away.
Yes, they do.
And a grandparent may not be sophisticated enough to understand. So when the child reveals something, who's keeping a secret, it might be Misty 509. Who's Misty 509? Well, that's who asked me to keep the secret. Okay, now we know, oh, wow, this is larger and we're going to need help. It's not, someone down the street that you can pinpoint. This is somebody who's out a keystroke away in this child's bedroom, in this child's space on a daily basis. We don't know how many hours a day, unregulated usually, because the pedophiles are the professionals.
Yes, they are.
They are down the road, miles ahead of us. So that's why we need the tool to catch up and hopefully catch them in their game. I asked the children to explain boundaries, and they may not know what a boundary is, but I explain that as to a fence, or, we talk about limits. We talk about words that I know might be too big for a 3-year-old, but with grandma there or someone there that loves this child, they can easily talk to the child about it, and they're going to learn words together.
That's right.
I use it's like an ice cream cone. The children are the ice cream, and the cone protects them. And I use that visual because an ice cream is so fast. It goes so fast. You're given it, you have it, the time is set to eat that ice cream. The time is set to save our children. Our time is shrinking. Our time is now. It does have things to color. I had a 95-year-old lady tell me that this saved, that she knew she was getting older, she was going to go to heaven, and she didn't want to meet our maker with this unresolved situation that she had when she was 16 years old at the one-room schoolhouse with the outside potties. So it helped her. I've had feedback from other foster parents that have used it, and it has helped. So I don't understand. I know there's not a lot of tools like this. I know it's one of the first that I know of that actually helps put the child in charge. It gets information that the professionals will have to use to locate this pedophile or sex trafficker or whatever. But even as an adult, if you've been sexually abused, this book helps you through your healing journey. I've had people say, you know what? I'm going to keep that book for 20 years and I'm going to burn it. I said, fine, fine. Excise your demons, however they manifest. I've had other people say to me that they want to use the workbook and then they would like to look at it 5 years from now and look back and see where they were and where they could be and where they can go. So it translates, once it's in the hands of I believe, of good people, good conscientious people who really want to stop child abuse, and they're serious about it, it will do, I pray, a world of good in many situations.
Yeah. And I liked it because it was like for children and young children, it's like a workbook, like you can color, the child can color, and it teaches about boundaries. It teaches about that the child that it's okay to say no.
They can take the paper is like a coloring book. It's like a coloring book, and it has some pictures of every kind of colored child, because it doesn't matter that, like we said, it doesn't matter how much you make, what house you live in. It doesn't care, your history, what color you are, what religion you find as your faith. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It's not discriminatory.
Yeah.
Pedophiles, but they have a knack, don't they, for seeking out the most vulnerable children.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, and you think, wow.
Looking for them. That's who they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for the children who are not being protected and who nobody is actually protecting, because that's who they're going to get a hold of.
Yes.
And they are looking for those children. Absolutely.
They are.
It's so horrific. And the thing is, it's not always stranger danger. Like, I'm a survivor of say, incest. But the thing is I did, when I was a little girl, I had two different instances of two grown men walk off with me down the street because I was always playing by myself out in the front yard. And, people pick up on that stuff.
Yeah, they'll notice.
They just walk off with me down the street. And really, I was very thankfully neighbors were paying attention, and the neighbor from across the street actually saw this and chased the guy down and got me away from him. But he didn't call the police. So this man, who knows what he went on to do with other children down the street somewhere else. See what I'm saying?
Yes, and we were warned about the man who was going to drive up in a car and offer us puppies or candy or something that would make us feel like we wanted to go toward their car, and then they'd snap us away. That's what I was taught. But the person who abused me didn't come by in a car, didn't offer me candy, didn't offer me. I was completely blindsided by the person who abused me.
Yeah,
you know,
that's my case too. Yeah, it was incest and within family. Yeah, so people quite often think it's only stranger danger, but that's not the case. And there's 3 of us survivors sitting here tonight that can tell you that. This is I think the world just wants to put on blinders. Like my mom, she just did not. She just didn't care. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how that can happen, but it does. And the thing is like she was abused herself as a child, and then she was in this abusive marriage with my dad, and so she was just, I think she just felt like, hey, I'm being sexually violated, I'm being raped, so too bad. You know what I mean? That's just what goes on around here.
I think that that your mother and my mother were emotionally bankrupt by the time they were dealing with their own issues.
Yeah.
How? And then I asked myself one day, how would my mother have ever gotten through what she got through? There was no help for her. Oh, they could lock you away in a state institution, but those people didn't rarely come back. You didn't have a psychiatrist, a psychologist, someone you could talk to. Friends didn't even want to hear about your distressing situation. People worldwide are listening to your voices, and they have a chance of hope. Mm-hmm. You offer them hope each week. And our mothers weren't even offered hope. No. So no wonder when it happened to us, they had nothing left to give us, and we have to forgive them because they had no resources.
This is the sort of the reason for that a lot of it was allowed to go on, and I think that nowadays, because there are more resources. There needs to be more resources, but there are more resources. Just for instance, like your book, Maureen. I mean, there's, or anybody's books that people are putting out this information to as a tool and a resource for people. There's a lot more resources than there were before. That's for sure. They're more easily accessible, and now, I mean, there's support groups that people can go to. I mean, back in when I was growing up, I think they had. Alcoholics Anonymous was pretty much it. There weren't survivor groups. Nobody was talking about this stuff. It was very hush hush. You never talked about this stuff. It just wasn't talked about. So this is, that's the crisis of that era. Today, that's why we're out here talking about this now, because we can and we do and we will. So the issue is, it's okay to talk about this stuff. Let's start the conversation. You know what I mean? And that's what I like about your book, Maureen. Yeah. It's, like you said, it starts the conversation.
Maureen, your book to me is the best tool on the planet for people to introduce their children to. It starts the conversation. It touches with the child's feelings. And like I said, children, they live and they love from their heart. So to me, I think that it's a great tool. It starts the conversation, but it also helps parents, or as you said, caregivers, nurses. Personally, I think that every doctor's office, I don't care if it's a dentist's office, a counselor's office, I think they should carry the book, just for the fact that if someone that they suspect is having problems, they could give a copy to. But I also think that it would be really good to have it in schools and make it available for children. I think, like I said, I think it's one of the very best tools I've ever seen. It starts the conversation, and that's the biggest thing, starting the conversation with your child, knowing what's going on with your child, knowing how your child's feeling. To me, that's everything. I commend you on this book because I think it's absolutely awesome.
Well, I commend each of you for allowing me the time to discuss my book, but to allow me to share my admiration for each of you and the hard work that you do and your dedication and it is a thankless job, but someone has to do it. And I thank you for being there for the millions of women, men, anyone who needs to hear your encouraging words. And I know that Lee even addresses a different, the deaf community. I mean, it's just amazing how you never stop widening your audience, broadening who you're going to help. And it all starts with someone saying, well, hey, can you help me get here? And you not only help them get there, but you say, wow, someone else might want to get here, and you run with it. And your organization, AU4H, you three girls, God bless each one of you. I admire you from the bottom of my heart. I know that it's not easy to talk about difficult topics, but you each do it well. And again, the book is Frozen Tears. It's available. I'm sure that we have websites out there, but if you can't find it, we'll get it into your hands. And
that's right. Yeah, and I'll include the links in the description, all the links to your website, to the book, where they can purchase it, and all that will be there.
Yes. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you, Laurie.
Well, thank you,
Lee. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. And I feel the same way about you. And I just love what you do to make a difference, and have been doing for a long, long time to make a difference. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing what you're doing. And we're thankful because you're our friend, and you do a lot for AU4H, and you do a lot for the people around you. And so, I appreciate you and appreciate the work that you do. You're a godsend.
Maureen, I do. You know how much I care about you, how much I love you. Anytime there's anything to be done, you're the first one to hop in the car and say, go. Road trip.
I think Walmart, they the other day we were standing, Donna and I were side by side picking up some things for a fundraiser, but she was on the camera, but I wasn't. I think now they see me coming into Walmart and they're like, oh, we have that. I have my own special camera.
The ghost, Laurie.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
Lee. Appreciate you sharing this wonderful tool for parents and educators out there to help start the conversation with about child sexual abuse. It's something that's a very difficult topic. It is one that we need to talk more about, and people don't want it. Well, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. Can we not do? No, we talk about it. It is, if people are uncomfortable, then good.
Exactly.
Because they should be uncomfortable and they should be angry as hell.
Yeah,
and they should be motivated to do something. And it takes a lot of courage to speak out and to share your story as a survivor. For those of us who are survivors, it's very difficult and it takes a very long time, and some people never share. But as we keep doing what we're doing, all of us, we can make changes. We start out with a little ripple, and ripples just, they keep going.
Yeah.
That change will it'll affect others, down the line, in fact, our
That's right.
children, our grandchildren, their children, and so forth. And, it's something that's got to be talked about. Child abuse is a difficult topic to begin with. And when you're talking child sexual abuse, it's like, ooh, the minute you put sex in the mix, they're like, ooh, no, no, no,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but if we don't
It
talk
needs
about
to
it,
be talked about.
we're not going to be able to help educate people on how to prevent it, what to look for, and how they can begin the healing process.
Mhm.
There's a lot to that. And, this month is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and it's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And um, we're all about creating awareness, not just 1 month a year or, one day a year. It's something we need to do every single day.
Yeah.
And to communication
Right.
open with your kids. I was a very involved parent. How was your day? Good. Okay, I'm going here. I'm going there. No, sit down. Tell me about your day. What was good? What didn't you like? I was nosy. I was
Me
nosy.
too. Me
And I
too.
don't feel guilty about it. And you make sure we've got the computers now, and like you mentioned, the cell phones, and there's evil on the other side trying to get
Yes,
to our
there is.
kids. The technology is great, but it also brings with it, some really bad stuff. Brings the bad guys, finding new ways to get to our kids. So we
Yeah.
just have to, get stronger and, unite arm to arm across the world, across the globe, and help protect our kids. So,
That's right.
thank you again for sharing your story, because it takes a lot of courage.
It
It takes
does.
a lot of courage,
Thank you,
It does.
Lee.
It really does. No, Maureen, I am greatly indebted to you. Every time that there is anything to do, you're the first one to say, let's go. We got this. I don't know how many times I've called you or text you and within 5 minutes you're ready to go. and
Yeah,
and I
it's
do. I truly appreciate everything that you do, not only for the organization, but myself, because you're always there for me whenever I need you. And I'm blessed. I mean, I'm actually starting to get tears in my eyes. So, and I love you dearly, and I do want to thank you.
And you're a great friend. And Lee and Laurie are friends as well. And I think this show is successful because of each of you sharing your truth. It's so rare in this day and age for people to be honest and share truth. And that's why I think that you're extraordinary women and you have a huge gift to give the world. So keep plugging away, and we will change this. The odds are in our favor. The odds are in our favor.
I like that
I
because
do
it's
too.
true.
I like that.
I believe,
I like
I
that.
believe that we were given the strength to survive, to get to the point in our life where we were able to get some help. It's really hard. It's like you a lot of times you question God, you question the existence of somebody, of a higher power, and it's like, well, why wasn't I rescued? Why didn't you stop this? But there are others out there who are going through traumas now, or who have been there, but they're not as strong. And therefore, those of us who have made it through this point have been able to get help, get the resources, and to be that hand reaching out for somebody else and say, hey, I'm here,
Yep.
let me walk with you.
Yeah.
Let me walk with you. Let me support you. I've been there. And, it's a hard road. There's a lot of questions that get asked, a lot of questions we ask ourselves. And I ask myself, raised Catholic, it's like, okay, God, you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be a loving God. Well, where are you? Why are you letting this happen? And, still have questions, but it's, we were given getting strength to survive, to get help, to be able to be there to help support others on their journey. And you're a very strong woman, Maureen. Thank you so much for being here with us.
I believe that,
Thank you.
Lee, that God cried the first tears. He cried the first tears. He doesn't want any pain, any heartache to befall on any of us. And we're second in line for the heartache. I believe he takes each of our heartaches personally.
Mhm.
Me too.
I agree with that. That's how I feel about it too. I think that, when I was being abused, God was crying.
Yep,
And,
absolutely.
People have choices and no one has to abuse a child. And there's no reason to abuse a child in any way. There's no excuse for it.
No.
So, that's why, we keep speaking out about this because, people need to start making better decisions on how they're going to deal with children. Children are not put here on the earth to abuse. They're not put here, to be battered and physically abused. They're not here to be sex toys for other adults. They're not here to be used in any manner, shape, or form, in any abusive way. And so, it's really important that, like, because this is the month that, all the advocates and different groups are out here speaking about prevention, it's just so important to realize, this is not going to stop until people change the way they feel about children. And so everybody needs to get, protect your own children if you have children. Look out for children, that your own children's playmates, little friends and stuff. Learn the signs and symptoms. You can get free information from our website. Actually, it's from, just look on the web. Resources are out there, but we also have them on our website. That's AU4H.com. And we have a whole section of ebooks that you can download for free resources for people. These are great little ebooks, and you can pick up Maureen's book, Frozen Tears.
Pick up the book.
And yeah, there's just tons and tons of resources. So it's really important to realize, like, this isn't going to change until the world stops abusing children. How do you get a world to stop abusing children? Well, you just keep speaking out, and you keep speaking out. That's what we're doing. And all of those people, those young people that are coming up after us, they'll continue this fight.
Yep.
But we're going to keep going. Like Donna, I've heard Donna say it several times that, and even Lee, that, on her dying breath, she'll be speaking out against.
I will.
I have.
And
I have heard.
And that's what I'll be doing too. Because, why? Because we need to. Children are being abused. So thank you everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. Wonderful to be able to have Maureen come on with us. Thanks for everybody who's tuned in and listened to the show. Share our information. I know Donna she has a grandson who always says, "Smash that like button," and smash it, and then subscribe. Share our information, and just get involved where you can. If you don't, you can get involved with us, Advocates United for Humanity. We love to have people join us in our mission, and Community Kids Watch program. You can get involved in that. It's in memory of Anson Stover. So get involved. Just get involved. We need everybody's voices in on this. Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
And I know that Donna had something that she wanted to say before the end of the show here.
I just really wanted to thank Maureen for coming on. Like I said, I absolutely adore you. I adore your book. I think that your book is really going to make a lot of difference in a lot of lives. I hope that people do reach out. Whether they get it online or they contact us or they get the ebook. I just think that it is vital. It's a great tool. It's one of the best tools I've ever seen. I'm very impressed. But Laurie, I also want to thank you for your dedication and all you do. And I want to thank Lee as well. You guys rock it out of the park for every week, every day, every month. And I mean, we've been doing this for many years. And I just want to thank everybody for, being so dedicated and so committed to helping kids. I have never seen a harder group of working women than right here in this room right now. Each one of you go out, go above and beyond to help kids. Like I said, I can call Maureen on a whim and we're in the car and gone. And I can do the same with you and Lee. And within minutes, we're on it. We're taking care of it. And I'm so thankful, but yet I'm so blessed to have such an amazing group of women, but also call them friends.
I feel the same way too. Absolutely. It's just a real honor. It's a privilege to be able to keep doing this. And, we do appreciate all of friends and people that do follow our work. And we will be on next Wednesday, same time, same place. We also have a really great webinar workshop coming up that we're doing with Hope Collaborative and Riverside Family Services. That's next Tuesday. We'll be on speaking about child abuse prevention there as well. So this is just a great opportunity. We really appreciate everybody who's followed our work and who has taken the time to share our stuff and gets involved and tries to save a child's life and tries to stop and prevent child abuse. We really appreciate you. So have a wonderful night, everybody. Until next time.
Night, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks for
ladies.
coming us.
Bye.
Yeah, have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
There we go. Yeah. Good night, everybody.